it too. I was like, man, he's 27, coming off the best year of his career. You got the defensive line coach here in Cleveland. It was just so many things that I thought lined up.
But he may be on fraud alert. According to my man Cleve TA, who's the analytics guru of Cleveland, Mike steals all his information from TA, right?
Whoa.
Come on, wait.
When we did free agents last week, Mike stole everything.
Talking about Bull, you're not going to do my boy like that.
I just did Hold on. I did him like that.
No, you're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that on the set.
I did him like that.
There's going to be crossover. I mean, you can't show me two lists where there's not the same guy when you're talking about.
He didn't copy him word for word. I'm busting his balls. But he took a couple of guys.
TA got me to switch my running back from Swift to Antonio Gibson. He did a great job.
And Greenard, he didn't like Greenard.
By the way, who was the first running back gone?
Yeah.
Swift.
And you bailed on him.
You bailed on Swift?
You bailed on Swift?
Shame on you.
You ain't tell me that part.
On Friday, I got swayed by TA, who's great, by the way. TA's awesome. But yeah, good. We're waiting for the deals the numbers from the Greenard deal. A new report out, though, from 1 minute ago. The Browns are showing interest in Zach Moss. So not Gibson, not Swift, not Pollard.
I think that was G. Bush's guy.
That was
Zach Moss. Yeah.
That was G's guy.
Well, G. Bush also wanted Saquon and Derrick Henry. So, if you take every running back.
Does that tell you guys anything?
By the way, you know where Derrick Henry is going. Baltimore. Isn't he a perfect Baltimore guy?
Does that tell you guys anything?
I hope that doesn't happen.
The Browns don't show interest in Zach Moss?
It's, I've come around in the last couple of weeks about the Browns spending some money on a veteran running back because to pair with Nick Chubb. But because Nick Chubb's injury was so serious, and we don't know for sure he's going to be ready week 1. I want another veteran
breaking
back.
news real quick.
Breaking news.
Tony Pollard to the Titans, replacing Derrick Henry.
Remember the Titans.
So Tony Pollard
that was my guy for the Browns.
How about these running backs getting some love?
I know. They're the first ones off the board.
I mean, it's
two
so
of the first
funny.
3.
The safety sitting around like, ain't this something?
I know. The league is so funny. How it just shifts. I'm not saying that they're suddenly this big priority, but teams are making moves.
But the safety's all of a sudden sitting along like, no, we ain't getting paid? Really?
DeMario Davis, new deal with the Saints. That was one of the worst Browns trades in recent years, getting rid of him.
Yeah,
ever.
That was stupid. He's one of the best linebackers in the league. But, yeah, it is. I'll be curious to see what Pollard, because when we were doing our free agency predictions for the Browns, like what we would do, I had Pollard to the Browns for 2 years, $12 million. But
I actually liked your list. You had two. You had Greenard, you had Pollard.
I did have Greenard, but he might be on fraud alert, and I might be on fraud alert.
He also spent about $10 to $15 million.
I did. I went over the cap.
Well, Bull's definitely going to go over the cap because Bull and G. Bush both the best.
Jimmy's money.
G. Bush wants a space shuttle.
Yeah.
G. Bush wants everything. His Operation Stockpile. He doesn't give a rat's ass about
G wanted 87 Chevy Colors that he could put on foes and
keep spending.
Put some 12s in it.
You just got $1 gazillion for Pilot Flying J. Let's go. Those places are gross, aren't they? Oh, my God.
Yeah. I don't spend a lot of time in trucks.
I had to. There was one time. You know Keith Britton, who was our producer, my producer, longtime producer.
Heard you talk about him a lot.
So I was going to his wedding in his hometown. I can't think of the name of the town. Some small town in southeastern Ohio.
Yeah.
And I had a suit, but I didn't want. It was a hot day because it was the summer.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to wear the suit for a 2-hour drive or an hour and a half, whatever it was.
So you just wore the jacket.
15 minutes. No.
Or the shirt.
15 minutes before I got to the wedding. I pulled into a Pilot Flying J.
Shower.
No, not the shower.
I was going to say, I've never.
But to change my clothes.
Oh, I see.
I just put on my suit, and it was gross in there.
Yeah, you get in and out as fast as you possibly can.
Hey, shout out to Keith. Funny story, real quick. We get back to business, man. Keith is a big dude.
Is he?
Big ass dude, right? And I remember sometimes a caller called in and was going crazy on Keith, and the only I kept thinking was, he must have never seen what Keith looked like.
Yeah, he is jacked.
Teeth would rip him.
Yeah.
If I had to take anybody in the media,
for sure.
I would probably take him in a fight as my partner.
For sure. Wow, that's interesting.
Well,
let's talk. We're not talking about a lot.
No, but you guys. G. Bush is the size of a house.
No, this dude is like a baby Brock Lesnar.
But G. Bush is a mess.
Keith is chiseled. He ain't just a big dude. Yeah. This dude is chiseled.
All right.
Yeah.
Question for you guys.
He's a great guy.
So Greenard's off the board. Pollard's off the board. We'll see what happens next, but it was announced last night that Eric Armstead, the defensive end/tackle hybrid defensive lineman from San Francisco, is likely to be released. They could not agree to some sort of contract restructuring.
Right.
He's older, but has been very productive and versatile on the line. Thoughts on the Browns potentially going after Eric Armstead?
To me, he's too old.
How old is he now?
He's got to be 30.
If that's the case, you just bring Zadarius Smith back. If you're going to go that route, just bring somebody back
He's
that was
30,
already
by
in
the
the
way.
system.
Well, he's a tackle, he's a tackle, right?
When's he going to be 31?
He switched from edge. He was drafted as an edge. He plays more interior now.
When's he going to be 31?
November 15th, so 31.
Oh, he a Scorpio. Never mind. Sign him up. Bring him on.
Bring him.
And the numbers for Greenard, according to Adam Schefter, $76 million over 4 years, 42 guaranteed.
Wow.
4 years,
$20 million a
76
year.
mil.
Inflation has
19
finally
million
caught
a
up
year.
with the NFL. These dudes are saying, hey, groceries are up, gas
Yeah.
is up, I got to make a living.
He say, "Mama, you can go retire now." I got all
Josina
that
Anderson
rookie deal, man.
says the Pollard deal also a 3-year deal with the Titans, similar to Swift. We don't know the money yet, but
So it's probably around 20,
I would guess it'd be in the 20 to 25 range.
Yeah.
You know what the interesting thing, though?
yeah.
Only $14 million of Swift's was guaranteed.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that the last year of a contract is guaranteed, outside of now we've seen with some of the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if the by the way, Deion Dawkins was just messing with everybody with that tweet. That's why I and everybody, because he put out a tweet saying he was going on.
Like Ryan Clark.
Yeah.
That was smooth.
G took the bait.
Hey, that was smooth.
Well, it worked.
I watched the whole video, him putting the coat on. He like, so I've done everything that I
worked.
could do.
Yeah,
you know, but
it worked.
That's the blueprint.
Did you see him talking about it on the podcast?
Yeah.
Where he was basically saying, I'm all about a negotiation, but I'm not about,
So
extortion.
when people be asking me, like, I've only been in this game 3 years, and when people like, man, you work 3-4 jobs, 6 days, 7 days a week, I have the mindset of be a great stewardess now, put in the work now, earn my due, so that by the time I'm your age, I don't have to work as much, and I get the big on the back end from putting in the work on the front
My
end.
dad, who knew nothing about the media business, but was smart about life and business and decisions in general, said, my first job, I was making $15,000 a year. I made no money. And, it's tough when you're out of school. Even though I was fortunate enough not to have any debt, I still, you want to live your life. I barely make my bills.
Right.
And my dad said, what you need to do is you need to look at it as the investment that you're making in your future.
Play the long
If you
game.
don't do this, you'll never get to that.
Play the long game.
So it's a long game.
You got to play the long game.
And it's smart for you to play it that way.
Yeah.
By the way, if the Browns do not, there's rumors that the Browns are in on Christian Wilkins, the big fringe defensive tackle.
Do we think there's a legitimate chance that'll happen?
There's rumblings about it. I guess. I didn't expect the Browns to spend big money on a tackle since they did last year.
Wait, update on the Pollard deal. Sorry to cut you off, both 3 years, $24 million. Almost the exact. We'll find out the guaranteed money in a
It's the
second.
exact
Almost
same
the exact
total
same
contract.
Those
That's
numbers are
Swift.
identical. I bet 14 to 15 million of it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the new bar for the going rate for
and those guys aren't even great top backs.
So that means Derrick Henry's
they're
getting
good backs.
27, 28 maybe?
No, Derrick Henry's older though, so he's not going to get a long.
Yeah, but Derrick Henry still had a hell of a season last year.
He's still good. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I think actually, and the Browns have had a history of signing ex-Bengals.
Damn, you
I could
boy,
see
why you
DJ
put that in my head?
I could see DJ Reader ending up on the Browns.
I had Derrick Henry to Dallas. Now he got me.
What, going to the Ravens?
Yeah, I had him going to Dallas. Now
Dallas is absolutely.
I mean, he could end up in Dallas.
Yeah, I just hope it's
they
not
don't have
Baltimore.
who's there. They don't have a back.
No, and that's a Jerry Jones move if I've
But
ever
he
seen
is
one.
right. I can see the dark visor, the purple jersey, and the black pants.
Bro,
now.
if he ends up in our division,
I just feel like that would be a Ravens move to sign Derrick Henry. I hope it doesn't. I don't want it to happen either.
but you know what? You talk about putting a bottle on a guy, putting a lid on a guy. What did they get? Didn't he have like 6 carries for 14 yards when he faced us last year?
Henry.
Henry
No, it was
absolutely nothing.
It was like 10. He couldn't get anything going. But
No, he had nothing going.
Yeah.
Hey, I seen something yesterday. I tweeted about it. I guess they was talking about Patrick Queen, Jadavian Clowney, and somebody else.
All going to Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, good, get the hell gone. I said,
Wait.
Well, because the Ravens DC is now the.
Yeah.
So I was like, get the
Seattle.
hell gone. I was like, Patrick Mahomes won't be able to stay with the Ravens. That's so sad. Said nobody that cheers for every other team in the AFC
no kidding.
North.
Get him out of
Queen.
here.
Patrick Queen. Get the hell
Get him
on.
out of here.
Yeah.
I would love that. First of all, they got him.
It is.
No, I'm thinking of Smith. They got Smith on
Roquan
steal
Smith,
from the Bears.
It is interesting how the money, for running backs, after been such a big talking point, that they're, and it may affect Nick Chubb. Listen again, Nick Chubb's not healthy.
Are they? We heard early that it was probably a certainty that the restructuring of Chubb and Deshaun were imminent. But
it was one of the questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I don't think I would not restructure Deshaun.
You wouldn't?
Unless I had to. I'd wait. Because, let's face it, at this point, we don't know what he's going to be.
Wait, isn't his cap hit $85 million?
I think it's 60-something next year. And the reason I wouldn't restructure it is because right now, I'm already on the hook for some dead money with him in year 6 after the contract's over.
Yes, you are.
If he falls on his face again this year, then it's over.
Then you extend the length of pain.
And why keep extending that if I got to move on from him?
Well, because if you're basically doubling down on your bet, Bull.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you this too because I don't know where you guys would land on this. Let's jump in the time machine, and all things have to be considered here. The salary for Deshaun, what we gave up for Deshaun, what Baker is now being paid. If you could jump into the Wayback Machine and go back in time before that deal was made and change one decision in the history of the franchise, that decision would be you're going to invest in Baker, not at the $30 million level that he was wanting then.
Yes.
But 20 to 25 could have gotten it done.
I personally would not have. I would have moved on from Baker, but I also, if I could go back now, would not have made the Deshaun Watson trade.
Right, but one is dependent on the other. You don't move on from Baker if you don't have Deshaun. See, I understand the fact that you got a chance to get this this once in a generational guy that he looked like he was going to be. He's got a lot of baggage. We don't know that he'll ever be that guy again. But you've made the decision that you're going to punt on Baker. I always go back to the comment that Kevin Stefanski made when he was asked about the Baker move, about finally releasing or trading Baker. Before the Watson move, he said, we can move forward with Baker.
But what else is he going to say?
If you're done with them, you're done with them. So it doesn't matter.
Maybe he didn't think they were realistically going to get a better option.
Well, I'm not sure that in all of the parties involved, I think the least on board with the move was Stefanski.
Who knows?
Then I think it was Andrew Berry. Then I think the guy that makes these decisions.
Entire organization felt Baker wasn't good enough to win in the playoffs, and they decided to move on.
Right. So
at the time, it made total sense to me.
What I'm
so I
saying
can't
is,
kill him for it now.
If we can go back in the time machine, and I'm not saying change both moves.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
if I could change one move,
if you could.
Honestly, if I could change one move about the whole thing.
No, but the move is Baker for Watson. If you could undo that and go back 2 years, knowing what we know now, would you or would you double down on that trade?
I would. If that was my only choice, I'd stick with Watson and hope.
I'm being honest. I would have doubled down on that trade. I'm with Bull. I can't go back now and say.
I'm not nearly as confident.
but I would have.
And I'm still where I was at the time.
Yeah, like
I can win with this guy.
It is so funny, man, because I remember I was still part-time at the Fan, and I was working at a law firm, like just trying to make ends meet. And I remember I was plugged in, had the radio on, listening to this guy.
Yeah.
And Bull went absolutely.
Bull ordered 8 Super Bowl tickets, I think, that day.
Bull went crazy.
Yeah.
When like the Browns made the trade, he came. Shortest break, I'm coming right back. I'm going straight to the phones. I want to hear from the people.
Yeah.
So, like, I remember how excited he was. I matched that energy at the time.
I think in the end, the goal is to win the Super Bowl. I don't think you could win a Super Bowl with Baker. I didn't. I still don't. I'm not going to argue that he hasn't played better than Deshaun Watson last year. He obviously did.
Yeah.
But I still don't think he's good enough to win with. That's how the Browns felt. I think at this point it's pointless.
Well, here's the thing. Next March, we'll do the same thing because we'll have another year of hay in the barn. We'll see what Deshaun Watson is going to become. We'll see whether Baker can sustain one good season and slingshot it in because he's been checkerboard all through his career.
Yeah.
Good, bad, now good. Let's see what he does next year. But I think it's worth discussing next March when we've got 60% of the contract will already be done.
Sure, then it'll be a different conversation.
And then we'll be able to say, we've seen more of Deshaun than we're going to see. Do you still think that was the right move? And
Let me do some
for the
super
record,
chats.
I wouldn't have done it then, and I still wouldn't do it today.
Let me get some super chats in real quick in case anything